All right, family. We're going to break down Hidden Colors 4 today because it's a tedious job for me to do this, and I just don't have the time, and y'all definitely don't have the patience to sit and listen that long. So we're going to go ahead and chop up Hidden Color 4. This is nothing against Tariq. He had no bad intent. Actually, it's a good idea. I just want to make some corrections on some of the information in these hidden colors for the public edification. Okay? Just to correct so people won't be on a wrong path or embrace bad information or scholarship. Okay? So let's just start right here. Let's go.
At the Getty Museum out here in Los Angeles, there is a painting, an illustration from the 1400s, Moses defeating the Moors. And in the illustration, you see African people who are the Moors in Europe.
Mistake! African people are not Moors. This is what I call being a culture vulture. Stealing other people's culture. Moors, you can look it up. Don't believe Chief X. Look it up everywhere. Moors are any Muslim in Northwest Africa. Mainly Berbers and Arabs. Moors, Berbers, and Arabs are the ones who conquered Spain or the Iberian Peninsula. West Africans never conquered Spain or the Iberian Peninsula. They never wrote about that. This is a fact. The Arabs did, not Africans. This is culture vulture stuff. Listen.
Ruling, they're in a castle and they're battling white Europeans. And the reason why they named the painting Moses defeating the Moors is because the Europeans at the time, when they were going through the Inquisition, when they were going through the Reconquista, when they were getting the Africans called Moors out of Europe,
Africans are not Moors. Now, you can claim whoever lives in Morocco, which is on the continent of Africa, you can call them Africans. But they're not sub-Saharan Africans. They're not West Africans. They are people who have more Eurasian DNA and maybe about 15% African, sub-Saharan African DNA. Berbers and Arabs are not sub-Saharan Africans. Get that through your thick head.
Had a religious undertone. What they would do, they would draw stories from the Bible and tie that into their current struggle. And that's one of the things that gave them so much momentum. There was a religious undertone to it.
The Africans in Europe originally the Moors came out of North Africa, on the area that's known as Morocco.
Morocco had nothing to do with sub-Saharan Africans or West Africans. Morocco, which is Northwest Africa, that area next to Spain, where Europeans is. You can walk, you can swim from Morocco to Spain. It's that close. Those are European people. It's a Berber area. And when Europe started coming down from the north, from Europeans, they were in Spain, Portugal, and they were in that area. Northwest Africa is an area of Africa, one of the only areas of Africa that has never, ever been inhabited by what we call black Africans. Never in history of life has any sub-Saharan or West Africans inhabited that area. Never. You can go look up the DNA genetics on Berbers and it will tell you who they are. Before these Arabs and Berbers, who are the real Moors, they were Roman provinces. The Vandals, the Visigoths, they were Roman provinces. White folk was in Morocco. It's a Mediterranean area by the waters. These people in the hidden colors are claiming Berber and Arab history. Ain't no African had nothing to do with Spain. No sub-Saharan West African. Those were Berbers and Arabs that conquered Spain, not black Africans.
Ruled that area called the Iberian Peninsula for centuries. And
she said they Moors, and she called them basically saying, we're the Moors. We're not. Okay? And to solidify my claim, I will give anyone on the planet Earth $100 to your Cash App, PayPal, wherever you want it, if you can name one black African leader of Spain or Morocco or Algeria. Name one in the history of mankind. That means from fucking 5000 BC up until 2018, name me one black African leader of Spain and Morocco since you say they conquered it. You can't name one. I've asked this question many times. Nobody can name one. One person, Ishmael Bey, I'm going to give him credit, came up with one mulatto. And those Arab and African mixed babies had allegiance to their Arab daddy, not their African mama. So it was one mixed ruler of Morocco, I believe, not Spain, who was a mulatto. One in 10,000 years. Throw him out the goddamn, throw him away. It don't count.
Interesting, because what most people don't realize is that the Moors had brought to Western Europe, before Europe even had developed the technologies to do a lot of the things that they had done.
Mind you, they'll put up pictures without the art history to that picture. Because they're showing a black person while they talk does not mean anything. You don't know the history of this picture surrounded by all these white, pale people. So it's the mind game when you put a picture and then you sit here and talk about Moors as being African, you put a picture up, that's a mind game. It's deception. Not intentionally, but some people are just truly naive. A lot of our historians are older cats who are naive and have not updated their information.
And when the Moors had been defeated in 1492, that expulsion of the Moors, they had moved into areas that were now considered Western Europe. But they brought with them a lot of the technology, the science, astronomy, irrigation for being able to develop these lands. And that got erased out of history altogether.
These pictures are fictitious. They're not fictitious. They're paintings. A lot of them are paintings. A lot of them are paintings that are called Orientalism. Orientalism was in the 1800s. The Moors conquering Spain was from 700 to 1400. So these pictures are like 300 or 400 years later. They're Orientalist paintings. They're not pictures of actual Moors, Berbers and Arabs.
I think that's part of the challenge now, is to put that knowledge back into the mainstream so that people understand who the Moors really were.
There's evidence of about 150 Moorish castles that are...
All these historians are wrong. They're wrong. If they're right, point me out one black African leader of Spain in the history of mankind. You can't. They're wrong.
Still there in Spain. And if you go to those castles, they will have a bilingual description where they will tell you this was a Christian castle, but it was originally a Moorish one, and they'll tell you when it was Moorish and then when it became Christian. The churches in Spain were originally mosques. They will tell you the period where they were originally mosques.
Mosque, yes, they were mosques. Arabs built them, and they used their slaves. Africans, West Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans. You don't remember the Arab slave trade? Arabs came up in there up in Spain running shit. And their slaves and servants did the dirty work.
And which period they became churches.
The Moors then, when they came into Europe, they had already had elements of ancient Africa.
Anthony Browder is not a pseudo man. I respect him. He's actually a real one. He's just wrong on the Moors subject. But this is a great man and a great scholar. Don't get me wrong. He's wrong about the Moors. Most all scholars are wrong about the Moors. How is it edifying black people to miseducate them into culture, be a culture vulture, and steal other people's achievements? You know what I mean? How is that helping black people by being miseducated?
And wisdom, which allowed them to advance in ways that the Europeans had never imagined. And so in order to survive in this hostile environment, they had to go underground. The same thing happened with the Europeans, who also were close to the Moors and other Arabs who had pieces of...
So they put these pictures like, they didn't look at these. I mean, this is mind game pictures. They don't tell you the art history of these pictures. Every picture and painting have a story behind it. When you see that story, then you make a claim about something. But never make a claim based off a picture or artwork unless you have the art history to it.
This knowledge, they found that this information allowed them to reinterpret the history of the world, the science of the world, and that conflicted with Christians, specifically the Roman Catholic Church. So they also had to ban those people.
You see how he says Roman Catholic Church? Because I told you. They were Roman provinces before the Arab conquering force conquered the Iberian Peninsula and Spain. They were Roman provinces, meaning they were Christian. Christianity was around. Islam is an Arab religion. Africans only became Muslim from Arabs enslaving them and forcing Islam on them. Africans were never, ever, ever in history Muslims until the Arab slave trade. 600 AD was when it started, the late 600s.
And that led to the development of what we now call today secret societies, or more specifically, societies of secrets. And those secrets were the ancient educational knowledge that had been developed in Africa thousands of years earlier.
Islam will rise up in the course of history by the...
Islam, Arab. They're talking about another... Moors are not black African people. African Americans are not descendant of Morocco or Moors. Those are Northwest African, Eurasian-based genetic people.
6th century will cut off Europe from world trade by dominating North Africa and the Middle East. Europe was cut off totally from Asia, India, and Africa in terms of trade and access to wealth. So Europe would plunge into what we call the Dark Ages, but it was an economic depression that led to a complete breakdown of society. When they break out of that, they break out with a vengeance that we will never, ever again be in this situation. That breakout comes with
slaves and servants being trampled on.
The 1400s with the Portuguese, and they will wreak vengeance on the rest of the world to control trade routes.
They're trying to give you the impression that these are Moors with no art history of this picture. These are not Moors.
Economic territories. Where is the wheat grown? Where is the gold? Where is the barley? We will get control of these things because we will never be caught in the Dark Ages again.
In Cuba, they have a Spanish dish. It's called Moros y Cristianos, which means Moors and Christians. And this consists of white rice, which is the white Christians, and black beans, which represents the black Moors.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Come on now.
So this theme of a racial battle disguised as a religious battle, that's still in popular culture today.
When you conquer a civilization, you're actually conquering their...
Don't ever listen to what Phil Valentine got to say and take that as truth. Ever. One of the most pseudo teachers we've ever had.
God. Because what do? You change the name of God. Once you change their religion.
Now, what he's saying is true here. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just strictly speaking on the Moors not being us. They were Arabs and Berbers, and they conquered the Iberian Peninsula. Is no West African no sub-Saharan African will ever tell you they conquered the Iberian Peninsula, Spain. Find me a source.
Once you change their culture. So the name of God is based upon how you create God. In other words, my perception of God now rules.
It's initially about greed, but it's about greed coming from a culture. European culture has always been a war culture. Going back as far as you can go back to the farthest Germanic tribe, to the Vikings, the culture has been based on dominance, destruction, and death. And if you can carry that out against another people, you were the victim. They did not have a religious concept where the value of human lives was significant in the way Africa and Asia put human life first and dominance second.
The oldest human beings on this planet came from Africa. And as these Africans migrated out of Africa and traveled northward, they were trapped behind a wall of ice during the Permian Ice Age 40,000 years ago. And through the process of speciation, they lost their melanin, became so-called European or Caucasian. But the other thing that's not often talked about is in losing the melanin, they also lost this quality that we refer to as soul, this substance.
They lost their soul. Granted, the European has done some bad things. But he's really talking about, when he says 40,000, he's talking about Neanderthals, which are archaic humans. They are neither black or white. They are archaic humans called Neanderthals. Neanderthals came out of Africa 300,000 years ago. And those are archaic humans. 300,000 years ago, us Homo sapiens, us upright walking Homo sapiens, were not on the planet. The Homo sapien, us, are only 200,000 years old. Before that, we evolved from people like the Homo erectus, Homo neanderthals, and things like that. Evolution. Science.
This civilizes you, helps you.
You can't. How are you going to lose a soul? How do you lose a soul? Just because a behavior is bad, that has nothing to do with losing or gaining a soul. Is a soul a thing?
To see your fellow human being as a fellow human being. So now with the absence of the civilizing molecule, the civilizing substance, if you will.
A civilizing molecule. A civilizing substance. He said, if you will. I'll give him that. But there's no such thing as a civilizing molecule. A civilizing substance. Just think about it. You can just use your own logic and common sense here sometimes, people.
They saw people as objects to be found, discovered, controlled, manipulated, and wiped out, if necessary, in order to ensure your survival. So that is the driving force, and that's the major difference between the two groups of people.
Billy Fuller came up with a book called The Compensatory Code Concept, which he introduced the idea of white supremacy being a religion. And by saying that white supremacy is a religion, that means that it's a belief that's backed up by power, that's backed up by action. And that action and power negatively affects people who are of melanated descent.
The relationship between black and white Americans, it's almost like an abusive.
Okay, so let me just skip ahead a little bit because they're going to go to another subject, and basically they're going to just talking about white supremacy for the next 30 minutes or so, which is nothing new. We know about white supremacy. Most of the things you guys post on before even Hidden Colors come out is about white supremacy and religion and how religion and white supremacy done it. We know all that. That's nothing new. It's just basic information. So it's big this discussion today. Hey, is Hidden Colors beneficial? I mean, is it a service or a disservice? I have mixed emotions about it because some of the information is decent and good, but a lot of it is basic. A lot of it is pseudo. Okay? So I don't see how pseudo information, how misinformation is beneficial to any human being. I just can't see it. Now, if you want to say, hey, it makes you feel good to think, or it makes you feel good because someone's telling a lie saying you conquered somebody, that makes you feel good, I can understand that. But anything that makes you feel good is not like real scholarship. It's feel-good scholarship. It's feel-good information, not reality.
Marriage, where each partner needs the other. A husband that beats his wife, sometimes he may love his wife. He don't want her to leave. He wants her to stay in the relationship, keep getting beat. And she may also be codependent as well, and really, really love her husband. Be more loyal than a woman who's being treated well down the street. Why? Because she knows, in her mind, she knows her place, and her place is not one of dominance, it's one of subjugation.
The genetic signature and the mind of the genetics has the will to continue, and that it becomes strongest when puberty hits.
Stop it, bro. Stop it. If you're going to teach black people, get a geneticist up here. Talking about genetic signature. Oh, wait a minute. Let me just let him talk.
The will to continue to procreate becomes so strong that you would kill for it. So the genetics of a man who, in his mind, fears the death of that thing that makes him unique, he will become as vicious as necessary to save and preserve that. Well,
that made absolutely no sense at all. I don't have time to go back over it. It's 22 minutes in already. Rewind it your damn self and listen closely, intently, and you tell me if it makes sense. It made no sense at all. Leave Phil Valentine definitely alone.
Sheikh Dino teaches us about the sun people and the ice people. So what gave them the momentum is psychological disposition that came out of that ice age. So for some people, African people, what was their psychological disposition? Living in the warmth, very little clothing, could just...
The cloak and the steel, you cannot cancel the future. You can only postpone it.
Let me skip because they're just going to be talking about religion and white supremacy, which is basic, and a lot of that information they kick and kill hidden colors is true. Okay, let me just skip along.
Eliminate these so-called blood people, meaning black people. So these white supremacists, they have all types of doctrines and code words and books and paraphernalia and information out here on how to subjugate black people and non-white people around the planet.
Christianity that is being reintroduced to Africa is worthless to Africa. The Islam that is being introduced to Africa and used still as a form of slavery in Eastern Africa is worthless to Africa.
No, I mean, that's true. I mean, this is true. Religion and white supremacy and things, that all that's true. It's basic, but it's true.
Africa created all of the world's religions.
That's not true. Africa did not create all the world's religions. Africans did not create Zoroastrianism. They did not create Islam. They did not create Hinduism. None of that. That's part of how Kaaba likes the culture vulture a lot. He's a Moor, actually. He claims to be a Moor. He needs to update that. Kaaba has been told about that and corrected about it, but he continues on. Because, sometimes when you don't want to... If you've been pushing something for 10, 20 years, you're not going to all of a sudden correct yourself and change and say, hey, my bad. You're just going to keep pushing it so you can save face.
From agnostic to Zoroastrianism came out of the mind of Africa. So the idea of the missionary, and this is the piece that we always have to look at, because when they first came to Africa, those of Eurasian descent, they did not come physically. They came spiritually. And when they came spiritually, And they got the indigenous peoples.
In the Pacific, they say, the black folks, so they say, okay, this is the New Guinea. That's why it's called New Guinea. You got New Caledonia. You got...
And he says that the world is divided into three.
Now, I skipped ahead. I'm about to end this real quick. I'll be doing Hidden Color. Excuse me. I'll be doing Hidden Colors 3 tomorrow. This one was basically about religion and white supremacy. I just wanted to point out some things that they had wrong.
160 degrees. Now this was 1153. And then that gives you some idea what kind of intellects we're talking about.
Guinea was the French word, the European word for West Africa. So in all of Africa, some part was called Guinea. And so when they get...
I don't know about all of Africa being called Guinea, but let's go.
In the Pacific, they say, the black folks, so they say, okay, this is the New Guinea. That's why it's called New Guinea. You got New Caledonia.